Hi, and welcome back to the NetOps Virtual Summit, your guide to visibility anywhere. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from industry experts and your peers on how leading organizations are adopting NetOps to assure the delivery of superior digital experiences to any customer anywhere, from the enterprise and beyond. I'm joined today by Sean Armstrong, Vice President of Products for AppNetta. He will be doing a demo that will highlight the use case of work from anywhere. Very excited to see this demo. So welcome, Sean. Can you give us a quick overview of what you will be showing us?
Sure. AppNetta is an end-user experience monitoring solution designed to ensure the performance of all your business-critical applications wherever they're hosted and wherever your users happen to be on any given day. This is more challenging in the hybrid work environments that we see today, where employees may be transitioning from home one day and working from the office the next day. IT and network teams are challenged with ensuring these applications are accessible and performant for all users in an even more dynamic environment than which we are used to. The AppNetta solution is a SaaS service designed to really measure from the end user's perspective to all of your applications in your data centers, in SaaS services, and in cloud services, and give that comprehensive picture to make sure you can find and fix problems as quickly as possible. As we can see within the demo here, we have employees all around North America, and we're measuring from their actual workstations, as well as from the AppNetta and Broadcom offices, to applications hosted within major SaaS provider environments, within cloud vendors, and within the physical data centers that we still use to run a number of critical applications. By measuring from the end user's perspective, we can identify if the issues are located just within their local environment, their local Wi-Fi, their ISP, or is it a larger issue caused by infrastructure problems central to major application availability that will affect larger classes of users. By having the information in the context of the user's perspective, we can identify the scope and scale of a problem immediately to identify if it's a regional issue with a specific ISP, have it organized by the key applications that people are accessing, and identify how many users are having problems with those key apps, how persistent they are, and really arm you with actionable information to identify when users are having a problem accessing a key app, in this case hosted in Azure, identify the actual performance from the user's perspective over their local Wi-Fi, over their WAN connection, and here we can see really consistent issues with packet loss affecting this engineer's ability to compile code. By measuring from the end user's perspective from their actual workstation, we can identify, in this case, a problem as we see all the various metrics we are collecting through the active application techniques. We can actually see it's an issue with their local Wi-Fi. We see a Wi-Fi quality score of 64%, which is really not sufficient, causing persistent packet loss, peaking upwards of 20%. That's really going to kill their end user experience. But by measuring specifically from the user's workstations, in addition to the corporate offices, we have a complete picture. So if that user happens to be in the office the next day, we still can ensure all of their applications are accessible and performant properly. This is even more critical as remote employees are relying on productivity applications, in this case Microsoft Teams, identify all users actively running this application, the routes taken over the internet to the applications hosted within the Azure environment. This is critical to actually measure from the end user's perspective because in this case, the traffic is never traversing the corporate infrastructure. It's not being backhauled to a data center. They're not going over a VPN in this case. So the traditional techniques and IT tools used to measure and inspect the traffic are really not going to work in a work from anywhere environment. But by measuring consistently from all users' locations, we can identify if it's a persistent problem affecting all users of this application, or in this case, just a handful of users and the specific ISPs that they're accessing the internet from. This level of visibility is critical to assess cloud-hosted applications, but in many cases, our customers may not even know all of the applications in use on their environment. This is where some of the passive analysis, the DPI capability comes in to identify what applications are in use, which non-critical applications are competing with your business-critical apps, which offices are actually running them, and probably most critically, identify key performance indicators about network latency, application latency, and retransmit rate to really triage what applications are performing poorly, the users that are affected, and pinpoint with the active testing methodologies How do we identify the root cause, reduce the mean time to identify and mean time to resolve as quickly as possible? This level of visibility we've shown so far is purely at the network perspective, which is critical. If you don't have a healthy layer 3 and layer 4 network, no application is going to work well. But just because the network is healthy doesn't mean the end users are having a good experience. That's why the AppNetta solution also performs synthetic transactions, voice over IP, video conferencing, and in this case, a web transaction going out to Office 365, actually logging into the application like a real user, interacting with it to ensure that the application not only is accessible, but performant for users. And in this case, we can see Office 365 is working properly with the exception of our this office in Brazil, where performance degraded by about 400% earlier today. When we actually drill down into the performance indicators, we can see that performance was relatively stable, and then it failed altogether. And because of the techniques that AppNetta is using, we can identify not just the overall performance, but what was on the user's screen at the time the issue actually occurred. In this case, it was actually an authentication issue with Office 365, but as we can see from the timeline, it resolved itself the next transaction and is working normally again. This complete picture of layer 3, layer 4 network visibility and layer 7 synthetic capability is critical because you may not know the root cause of issues. We want to make sure we have all the data needed to find and fix whatever problems are affecting your end user's experience. And all the detailed technical instrumentation we're doing is critical for our engineers to fix these problems, but we can also take the data and summarize it up in a more executive-friendly view. In this case, Office 365 over the past week, it was meeting my SLA 97% of the time. It was up 100% of the time, but it was performing poorly 3% of the time. So get an overall SLA report on a per application basis, and then identify which locations are actually having issues. In this case, the issues were isolated to the Denver office. So it's not a broader application problem. It's an office level issue so that IT can focus their energies there to solve this problem as quickly as possible. So everything we've seen so far is specific to what AppNetta can do to measure as a standalone solution, but this becomes even more valuable now that it's part of the broader Broadcom family. One of the key areas of integration that we're working on at the moment is to integrate the active testing methodologies of AppNetta with the Symantec web security solutions to make sure that you have both parts of the solution covered. Make sure your remote users have a secure access to all the applications that they need. Your corporate security and compliance policies can be enforced, but then make sure that your users are having a good experience through the AppNetta technologies. This integration with Symantec, we're going to actually deploy AppNetta technologies within the Symantec cloud, measuring out to the key applications that users are accessing to make sure that they are accessible and performant from dozens of places around the globe, and then integrate that with the visibility we're providing that I've shown so far, specifically from each end user's perspective, so that you can get the wisdom of the crowd to ensure, is this issue affecting just me and my users? Is it a regional issue affecting anyone coming from Pacific Northwest on a specific carrier? Or is it a broader issue affecting all sorts of users all around the globe? And because of the scope of AppNetta and Broadcom together, we're able to identify these issues so that you'll immediately know, is this an issue with one specific user, a regional issue, or a global issue, because of the broad perspective we can now bring to the table as part of the Broadcom solution set.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sean, for that really compelling demo. I really like the fact that you were able to show that comprehensive view of the user experience, especially work from anywhere and the connection to the cloud application, and then being able to provide all of that rich information to find and fix problems even quicker. And then, of course, the Better Together story, as we mentioned throughout the day today, which is that comprehensive visibility from anywhere.
Yeah, this is critical. As employees are accessing applications that are outside of their control, you need all the key information to understand your infrastructure, make sure that they are working as expected. But now that applications may never traverse your environment and applications may be outside of your control, the combined solution gives you an end-to-end visibility that just simply isn't possible from any other vendor.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And this slide says it all right here. It's that, full architecture of all of these various different components, the complexity that it brings into the organizations as they're digitally transforming, as they're trying to provide that connectivity out to their end users to be able to provide the digital services that are expected to deliver that overall superior customer experience.
It truly is better together.
Absolutely. So thanks again, Sean.
Thank you.